too.
Yeah, we're good. Also, FBZ has played Kunk offlane in the past, so
Yes, yeah.
the mystery is still there.
It's still flexible.
It is
It's
still flexible. The Razor could still go offlane.
They're saving it because Boom have overall last pick.
Yep.
You know?
I'm really happy whether he plays the Snap, whether he plays the Conker. I think he's really, really talented at both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I was moving on. Sorry, you can finish the Kunka.
No,
Okay.
I
No,
don't
she's
really
ready
have
to
much
move
more
on.
to say. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to like figure out like what 23 is gonna play this game because there's already so many carry bans. And there's gonna be 2 more. Oh, they think Lena?
He played Lena carry against the Beastmaster in one of his
Oh,
games.
okay. I mean, he's just going off the rails with his hero picks, Doom, Lena carry.
Yeah,
okay.
23 Savage has been insane. Honestly, it's actually so impressive. They'll just like if he just has a feeling for a hero, they just pick it for him. And He just does it.
Yeah. I was thinking like a lot of the obvious ones, like there could be a Slark or something maybe this game, but
Dude, those soft toys behind KP, that's adorable.
It's really cute. I have the
Holy heck.
Rubik one. It's really cool. I don't
That
have the
is
Shagbok though.
So cute. Where do I get me one of them? That's actually freaking adorable.
probably TI.
Probably Valve Store. Yeah.
Gosh.
Anyway.
Anyway,
Anyway.
refocusing on the draft.
Yeah, so Boom's heroes can kind of go anywhere, so I don't know if they need, like, they might last pick a support, or they might just pick an offlaner, or they might need a carry. They could really go for any role. I think they probably... Yeah, this is it. I just don't know, because I know Yopaj likes the Snap Ember matchup, so it's hard for me to say, like, oh yeah, they're definitely putting this Conker mid. They'll just wait and see what Talon pick, and then they'll sort their lanes out, honestly. That's pretty
Then
much it.
let's spitball theory craft some ideas for Talon. While we're waiting on this last ban.
They're gonna pick a carry that has some mobility versus the Racer.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want to get linked. I mean, he has played Slark before, and it could be okay. Not my favorite pick ever, I think. What is my favorite pick though? It's really hard. There's so many bans.
Actually.
There's just so many bans right now. I'm gonna have to like take a look at what's left.
We've seen him play Ursa, Slark, Medusa. In the last series,
Probably not Medusa. You could play Sven, I guess, against the Razor. Ursa's a fine option too against Razor. You have so much burst damage that, and plus you don't really care about your base damage that much with Fury swipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all I got. I think Slark and Ursa and Sven.
Those
Maybe
three.
Sniper, maybe.
Sniper's still in the pool.
Those are
What
your
are you
options.
looking for? Is there something they're missing?
Oh,
It's
Doom
the
carry.
Doom carry.
There you go. I think they may, first impressions, without thinking too much about, they might be living a little too much in the past here, feeling this Doom a little too much, but I could be wrong here.
You mean the past of like 2 days ago
Exactly.
when they won with it?
I mean, they won
So
with it.
long
It's a little bit like, "Oh, I won with this before. Let's just pick it again. However, they don't really have a carry in this game, which means they can snowball the game if they play really fast. I guess DP can take objectives, but they don't really have an ancient farmer.
Oh, Beast got banned. That's so sad.
So as far as the farm game goes, I'm a little worried about Talon's play options this game. They just have to play really fast. They have to win their lanes, and they have to apply pressure because they can't utilize the whole map.
Yep.
Whereas like this Kunkka, he'll be able to farm ancients. Razor can do it too. There's really nobody who can farm ancients on Talon unless this Tiny's going carry, which I just don't see happening.
Dude, I legit
It's
felt
possible,
the
but I
exact
don't see
same
it.
way as you when they picked a lineup like this the last time they had Doom, and then they stomped the game.
Well,
so
that's
I
what you
stopped
gotta do,
questioning
right?
it. Yeah.
You're like, I got a little bit of faith, and I'm actually kind of, you know,
It's
concerned.
gonna look like that. It's either gonna look like they stomped the game, or it's gonna look like that Alchemist game too,
Yeah.
where they can't do
Yeah.
anything. It's you're not gonna get it like some normal looking game. And it's offlane Razor, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, that last pick, Wraith King, means we have the draft for our first game between Talon and Boom, and it's time we bring in our amazing casting duo, Mike and John. Hello, how are you both doing? You know what, John, I'm just going to call you out. Which team are you potentially going for? I'm a little bit confused.
I would still lean towards Talon, but I got to rep Boom because Gary's getting really mad at me. So I've got both of the jerseys on just to compensate for Mike having his packed away. I'd still lean Talon. I think it goes back to just going with his quirky Doom 1 Savage so as he can play it on the bleeding edge. And as long as Talon plays the same tempo the last time we saw this on RSG, Boom might not be ready for that playstyle here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy they choose Pos 1 Doom because they're against a real competitor here against Boom Esports. I don't think it's going to work. I think Boom Esports came with a better draft. I don't have a jersey on, but we all know I'm going against JohnxFire, so Boom all the way.
I think John isn't for both here. Which side? Not Boom or Talon, but John or Mike. They had to pick.
Last time I went against Mike, I got embarrassed live on air, so I'll be with Mike here.
All right, good choice, good choice, Theo. Are you ready to be embarrassed or not?
No, I don't want to be embarrassed. But what does it mean to get embarrassed?
Means
Going
you're
against
wrong.
Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I'll go with Mike then.
All right, we're all in. Mike, the prediction has convinced us, but game one, let's jump into it, Mike and John.
Oh, you know what happens when everyone agrees with me, Jonathan Talon, game one. They've got this in the bag. You're welcome very much, JohnxFire. Still, it is MLP Dota and John X Bias. Once again, Jonathan, this time around, you're biased for both teams, which is very good. I am hoping you change shirts during game number 2, Jonathan. We can't have you wearing the same shirt throughout the whole series, but how are you feeling, John? Pretty high matchup.
It's a great way to close out the DPC, right? Last match to figure out who's number 1 in the region, who gets those bonus points, a little bit of extra prize pool as well before going into the major. It doesn't really shake any fact after that. Everyone's going to the major here. Boom, Talon can secure, well, outside of visa issues, which is a different topic altogether, which I'm sure Zach is suddenly getting an anxiety attack from me mentioning, and Gary as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gets sorted, but this should be a close one, right? The last time we saw Boom and Talon go up against each other, Talon did take that one fairly convincingly, but it feels like that was a different Boom as well, right? Like that was Boom still kind of trying to figure things out, shaking off the issues they had at the major, and ever since then, Boom's just been on the up and up. Feels like they've managed to fix those issues they might have had, and they just look like that Boom that was dominating through Tour 1. So to see Talon up against that form of Boom, it's going to be very interesting and probably one of their tougher matches here for Talon.
I mean, it's so exciting, this matchup. Last time around, obviously, Talon actually took the series 2-1. You keep in mind, like, it's Makoto versus FBZ, Jackie versus Savage. You know, you've got all these friends in this game, or rather this series, and there's a lot on the line here between these two. Like, who was really right between Makoto and FBZ? And, of course, Jackie and Savage both getting kicked from T1 earlier, and, well, we know how T1 went. Yopaj, mid lane, going to get a deep ward down already. I believe that was spotted, though. Talon, they should be well aware that that's happened, as tips are already flying out between Makoto and FBZ. And, well, to be fair, John, I think this is going to be happening quite a lot throughout this series.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to see. Again, that history between both teams. You know, Makoto and Hyde playing against their old friend in FBZ. Yeah. Jackie and Savage haven't played against each other. Jackie and Q haven't played against each other. Hyde?
Hyde, he might be in trouble. He went for the D ward, but he's copying a fair bit of damage to the cookie. Gonna land perfectly, though. Hyde still running, but not running quick enough. Skem able to take first blood here in the Pos 5 Snapfire. Obviously, a very strong start already for the side of Boom Esports. John, you know, another thing I have in mind as well. Like this Pos 1 Doom, we watched it last time against RSG. Savage did a great job, farmed out of his mind, and they completely stomped RSG. And I mentioned this earlier with the panel, but I really looked forward to seeing whether Savage is going to be able to kind of pull off a similar performance here against a team like Boom Esports. And the question in my mind is, can someone like Jackie, who we know is kind of famous for farming ridiculously fast, can he keep up with this Doom?
I think he can. You know, it's a raid king. You can go into the jungle early on. You can just work it with your skeletons. It's down to Talon to kind of punish that playstyle, drop some really aggressive wards, and, you know, it'll limit that farming space for Jackie. Easier said than done. Jackie tends to just find a space to slip away in. And Jackie does have a really strong lane to kind of set up on up top as well, right? Like you've got Raid King along with a Snapfire, double stun lane with a cookie. Can be really hard for the side of Talon to get aggressive. They've got potential for toss backs down the line. Playing with the Spirit Siphon, level 3 for KP is going to be big. But the Raid Kings are very tanky here to try and run down. And we've seen this with the Pos 4 Tinies before. It can be a slower laning start. Q does go for the tree grab, so his right-click harassment onto Skem was pretty nice, but that does mean you're kind of stalled out till maybe level 3 to really have any aggression with your own stuns in comparison to what Boom has.
That's fair. Have a look at that mid lane. Yopaj on the mid conquer against Makoto on the Ember. We always kind of say this, but it does feel like the matchup does favor the mid conquer over the Ember, but just barely. See how Makoto does do, because some games on the Ember he has brilliant performances, and other games we don't really see too much out of him. Against the Conquer though, John, what do you expect Makoto to be doing here?
I think he's just going to be looking to try to build that laning advantage, dance around what Yopaj wants to do. We already saw some of that come out. He did Sleight of Fist dodge Tiebreaker, not the easiest thing to do, but if you can be consistent about it, it cuts off the Kunkka's main harassment. He's still got the Torrent to play with, but landing onto an Ember is a little bit tougher, and Rune Control, again, is important. Level 6 timings as well. Probably going to be big, along with the initial itemization for that Orb of Corrosion we love to point out on the Ember. If that is something Mikado will pick up, or whether or not he just rushes the phase boots is another thing. But yeah, mid lane should be fairly stable though.
Yeah, bot lane, they're going to try and go with the Dispose. Savage already taking so much damage, and eventually they might just have enough. Meanwhile, top, or rather mid lane, Yopaj, he ends up going down. Completely solo to Makoto. And in the meantime, Savage, he actually ends up surviving. Sadly, John, even I didn't get to see how Yopaj died mid.
Yeah, I think it's just down to a little bit of a surprise. Mikado hits level 4, goes for the chains, isolates Yopaj, and just runs him down. Going for a 1-1-2 build, which we don't see too often. And that is one way to get aggressive, you know, just jump on top of the Kunkka. He does have the value point in X now that Yopaj hits 6, but the Ember does feel like it can reach a bit further without getting out of position. You know, you still rely a lot on that Tidebringer for Yopaj's trade hits here.
Oh, he's being very aggressive now, Makoto. Understanding he's going to have the XP advantage. He wants to press it as much as possible. The Yopaj, nice little torrent onto the Ember. Kind of give it back the way of Makoto. And again, Makoto will have a level advantage in just a moment. Once one more creep dies, we'll hit that level 5 mark. But we'll see if he can find any more kind of kills here on the Kunkka. Not going to be that easy a second time, I don't think. Maybe if you have a support rotation, but chances are these supports won't be leaving the lanes anytime soon. 1-1 so far, very slight net worth lead the way of Talon. Again, you do kind of expect Talon to maintain a net worth lead throughout this game 1 as well, John, because you do have a pos 1 Doom, right? It's not quite an Alchemist, but you do expect the advantage to remain the way of Talon throughout the game.
Yeah, they should be able to just rack up the gold, get that farm they want on Savage. That should reflect in that net worth. I think Boom staying steady at, you know, just about 1k behind isn't too bad. It's not like this is the point where the Doom starts to fall ahead up against Boom. So you should still be able to trade equally. This is a little bit of a slower start than I expected from Boom, though. Again, we talked a little bit about this draft behind the scenes, right? Marcy Razor can be aggressive in the right circumstances. We've seen some attempts from Tim's. Hyde's been able to cut off quite nicely with Nightmare and trade back with Brain Sap. And Savage isn't really being contested. He's just allowed to build up, gonna have phase boots up soon. Into the Midas he'll go with a soul ring. And at that point, you just can't stop. I mean, they can't punish that greed. Like, they just don't have that running start. And we've also seen Razors off to a slower start. It feels like if you don't get that VKB refresh timing on an offlane Razor fast enough, then the hero just kind of feels like it drops off.
It's going to be super problematic. Like, if Savage actually gets away with this Midas build-up and he is actually kind of able to abuse it throughout the game, it's going to be a massive issue as FBZ will try to go for a bit of a chase onto Savage, but they really aren't able to get that much pressure going. Like, a bit of damage dealt, Savage, he'll be fine with that. And he can just keep devouring creeps and hitting them. No problem. Just nothing to stop him, even against the Razor. As top lane now, Skem might be in a spot of danger as the toss back is going to be out onto KP, but Skem, quick thinking, will get him out of this situation. So just TP's right out as soon as the toss is done. So no secondary kill coming out yet, but John, back to my point. If Savage really is able to abuse this Midas build-up, it's going to be a disastrous time for Boom, as they are going to try again. Link is there, toss him back, Savage. This time will take a lot more damage from FBZ, but can they get the kill? Not quite. Savage, he's still going to be just fine to walk away and reset.
Yep, just gets back. Manages to, again, have the Devourer off cooldown, so just going to look for that farm. A bit of a rotation down mid is scanned out by Boom, so no aggression coming out from Talon there. Yeah, they still managed to secure the power rune though, Invis rune for Mikado. We'll see if he decides to play with it. Does have his level 6 into 7 soon. This could be a good rotation opportunity for Mikado if he chooses to do so. Yopaj has had 6 as well for a while, but no mid rotations in. Both teams kind of focused in on the side lanes, especially Boom. It just seems like they're wanting to win out the lanes, get that initial farm on both FBZ and Jackie here.
Absolutely. Very tense game already. You can kind of feel it between these two teams, fighting over that first place spot for DPC 2 or 3. Because like you mentioned, John, both teams are going to the major anyway, but you do want to be known as that first place team going into the said major. And obviously, well, kind of like you mentioned as well, John, this isn't even where things really get started. I mean, the visas are going to be coming right after this one, so God only knows how that battle goes for these two teams, but we'll see what does happen. As bot lane, Yopaj going to go for a rotation with the TP out. They want to at least find hide out of this, but a nice nightmare. It's going to put a stop to that. Still, the X is back onto Yopaj, and well, eventually they will find the Bane. No problem. Yopaj will take it. Not quite the kill you really wanted, though, for a TP rotation from the Kunkka, I'd say, John, but you take what you can get right now as Boom.
Yeah, you're happy enough finding something for Yopaj to snowball off of for Boom's sake. It does give a lot of free space for Mikado down mid, still finding a lot of farm on that Ember. And again, you are kind of evening out up top here for Jackie. He is still farming up really well, but KP's managed to pull ahead. And we're at that point where Q can be threatening on that Tiny.
Jackie's in big trouble here. He'll level up the reincarnation, but he needs some help. Makoto is coming in to rotate to try and help out with the secondary killers. Jackie, he'll go for a run deeper into the tree line. No TP's coming out yet for Boom. Are they really just going to let him die like this? Chains are out, and it does seem like Jackie is set to fall, as KP just runs him down with Q. Again, no TPs to come. They knew the Kunkka TP was on cooldown from that last rotation, and nobody else could come in and help out.
Great read out from Talon. Just get the rundown on that pause. One, slow down Jackie even further. He's had a bit of a rough start. In fact, both side lanes have had a rough start here for Boom in terms of net worth, even though they've kind of let the supports just camp those side lanes for a very long time in relation to how Talon supports have been moving. You are starting to build up on Talon. 3k lead, as you mentioned, Mike, to be expected when you have a Doom, but 3k is still a pretty good amount of gold. Savage is going to have a good timing on that Midas. Mikado's been very active on the Ember, is going straight up for the Maelstrom next. And for Boom, it does feel like they're going to have to play off the back of Yopaj. He's the one here that's managed to keep up in farm, managed to hit his EXP spikes really well. You would probably want to have a couple level 6s on your supports, though. It does feel like you especially want the kisses in this match, just to tie into that X-Torrent boat combo, and maybe get a little bit more value out of, say, AoE disposes here as well.
Absolutely. So far, so good, though, for Talon. 3k advantage, 9 minutes in. Like you've already said, John, Savage, he's having a very good time, and even better is currently Makoto on the Ember. Like, I kind of talked about how he's kind of hot and cold when it comes to this hero, but this is just a fantastic start for Makoto. Top of the net worth board, right ahead of Savage, and well, this Ember also going to be rather scary as he is going into the Maelstrom build. Plenty of damage to come out, I'm sure, once that's up, and he's going to have some decent timing on it. Meanwhile, top lane, Yopaj trying to find a target. We'll go after Hyde, but Makoto is going to be there to help out, and with the Nightmare, he does juke out the X-Back. Still, a nice chains from Makoto. But Yopaj, he's going to be happy to just walk out of there. I can't say the same for Tims, though. He does get scouted out by Makoto as Tims tries to juke his way back towards the tier 1 tower. And it seems like they do get themselves out for now. But Talon, they are not backing off. They really want to set up for the top tier 1. And it seems as though, Boom, they want to try and set up for a team fight. It's just a matter of can they actually take one?
It's tougher, right? Like, you've only really have both and Torrent for your AoE hold, maybe a good Kisses, and again, maybe a good Dispose on multiple heroes if you can somehow find the angle here for Tims. They see the Exo pop, they immediately back off. It's just not a fight that they can take. It's not a tower that will live long enough for them to use those spells, and that does mean a lot of commitment comes out from Boom to try to make that work. It really especially hurts Yopaj, because you do want that quick BKB here on your Kunkka just to be able to stand in the middle. It doesn't feel like the BKB is going to fix all your issues, though. You have to remember there is Doom and Fiend's Grip on Talon's end once they do get the levels into those spells, and that still makes short work of that spell immunity anyway. It's all about positioning here for Talon down the line. Still maintaining that 4k lead. No threat of a push out from Boom down bot either. Jackie clearing out some large camp stacks. Not the biggest stacks in the world, but definitely some catch-up farm that he will need. And he's still really behind here, Mike. Still bottom network core. You talked about Jackie recovering a lot. It does take time. So it does feel like Boom will have to find a way to buy that time out now.
Well, this will be a true test for Jackie. Can he catch up in a game like this that's just gone so badly already? Well, never mind that for a moment. Top lane, KP, going to be in a spot of danger, but immediate TP away. And, well, Tims, he already committed the Dispose. So no way to cancel off the TP means that KP is going to be just fine. Meanwhile, across the map, towards the bottom side, Skem and Yopaj, they are going to smoke up around Jackie, who does have Reincarnate, almost trying to bait for his team, but the only person they run into here is Hyde. Again, not the greatest kill for them to take, but they'll be forced to take whatever they get here as Boom. They'll give another kill away to the Kunkka. But I think it's a great play from Hyde. Just very nice positioning, protecting Savage all the time, and this is not the kill they want.
No, and Savage is still farming up, already has that Midas up mic, has a lot of room in his own jungle to farm. There was a nice aggressive ward from Boom to spot that camping spot of Hyde, but they don't really have control on that jungle area itself, at least the central part. They do plant a ward down now. Gonna have to check that out from Talon to see if they can spot that out with all the sentries they have on the ground. And that does at least allow Boom to start to clump up bot, get a little bit of a shove in with the skeletons coming through from Jackie, not pushing in too hard though. As they are still rotating heroes in. Does feel like that bot is being given away by Talon. So, not necessary for the bodies to come in. But we'll see if someone does dip in for a defense here.
I think it just favors Talon though, right? Like they're happy to play the farm game for now. They've got a pos 1 Doom. They've got a pos 2 Ember. It is a rather greedy draft here from Talon. So you'd much rather take the time to farm, wait for Exorcism to be back up, and speaking of the Devil, KP with the Exorcism is going to pop at mid lane, and they can always just trade the mid tier 1 tower. It's much more valuable, and knowing how far Jackie is behind right now on the Wraith King, shutting off the triangle of the Dire is going to be a massive issue for Boom if they let this mid tier 1 tower go. For now though, it does survive as they do force the rotations here, Talon. But think about it, John, they're just buying so much time for Savage to just keep that farm up. And it's a Midas Doom. He loves time.
Just wants to keep farming up anyway. They get to get aggressive onto Hyde. They don't manage to find the gap closing to take out even just the Bane. And Talon, with a timely backing off, managed to expand a fortification out from Boom. They don't lose anyone in that little shove in. They get back to farming on Mikado as well, who does have the full Maelstrom up. So you've got some great ways of dealing with, say, the skeleton summons of Jackie down the line. Boom still trying to clump around mid. For Boom, it does feel like this is the point where they can play around Yopaj. BKB's not quite done, but they at least have the kisses up and Skem. So they've got a little bit more damage to just work some of those bigger cores down. Would be big if they catch someone like Mikado out here, but they kind of reveal it with a Sentry D ward.
That's a very big pick off. They can find it. Savage not going to be able to juke out the Torrent and the boat as Savage. He will just try to stand his ground, but eventually will drop. That's the kill Boom wanted. Still, Skem is going to go down in the meantime, but here come the cavalry. Boom. They want to keep the fight going. Onto KP they go. They want the Death Prophet. Already so low. KP might just drop. It looks like he will. Jackie will take the kill, but now the Fiend's Grip onto FBZ. But do they have the damage for him? Not quite yet. They'll toss him up, but it's not going to be enough. In fact, now Q going a little bit too far forward will also be punished here on the Tiny as Jackie gets a triple kill on the Wraith King. Oh, Talon, they were off to such a good start, John. 3 kills the way of the Wraith King. Look how much net worth he got out of that.
And climbs up, does manage to overtake FZ and KP in that fort, and this aligns for Boom now to have that opportunity to push down mid. Talon just getting a bit too hasty, not expecting Boom to clump up, but again, this is when Boom's strong. They've got kisses, they've got Torrent Boat, you're ready to run with FBZ with just the double Wraith Bands, and BKBs are just about to be finished. Both are Razor and our Kunkka just lacking the recipes. So you still have big timings for Boom to play around, and Talon has to be extra cautious with their positioning. That's where their heroes really shine. If you can get a good grip off from Hyde, if you can maybe try to jump in with Q on his blink, you can try to isolate and break up that team fight of Boom. Have a bit of an opportunity to maybe look for that mid here though.
They will. Skem does get caught, but Q may have given his life away for this. It's going to be a pos 4 for a pos 5 trade, and it will be, as Yopaj does take the kill. Brighter side for Talon, though, is they do finally get that mid-tier 1 tower. You just start to ask yourself, is it a little bit too late for that? Because Jackie has caught up very nicely now on the Wraith King, and well, he's not quite at the point he wants to be, but he's at a point now where he can escalate that farmer's Hyde. Is going to get run down. Jackie wants the kill onto the Bane. Meanwhile, on the other side, they've got to zoom out onto the Kunkka, so they might find Yopaj. Pretty massive pick off here for Talon as they'll go for a bit more onto FBZ. Cookie's not going to be enough. Talon kind of giving it back the way of Boom now, 2-1. Very favorable trade going the way of the Radiant.
Yeah, and they're going to be feeling great. They did have to expend Doom there, but this does mean that Savage will just sit back, go back to farm with Midas, play with the Devour. Boom could have an opportunity, but it's Talon who goes for the smoke play immediately after here.
Cheeky scan out. They scan onto Skem. Jackie's actually going to try and help out with this one. Stun is there onto Makoto, but I don't think he has the follow-up damage. In fact, now Hyde, he has the Fiend's Grip. They need help. They need to help this Wraith King out ASAP here, John. Jackie's gonna run. Tim's, he'll be around, but there's your Fiend's Grip. They take him out easily. No mana left on the Wraith King, so no reincarnation to come.
And it just ends up favoring Talon after a little bit of a tumble in that earlier fight. They find the angle up against Boom. They manage to split them apart. Boom, not quite sticking together there. I mean, obviously they're just trying to find farm in some spots. Hold on.
Apologies, John. I didn't realize. Jackie was 18 mana short. That was a really smart play from Hyde. He used the Fiend's Grip, drained 5% of his mana, and got to the point where he was, what was it, 12 mana short? 18 mana short for the reincarnation? It's very clever there from Hyde, as now FBZ mid lane. He's going to static link up, but it's not going to help, I'm sure, as the plasma field might help a little bit more. And Tim's now, Dispose is going to be there onto Savage. They will rush him. BKB's up, but it may not matter. The damage output just way too high as KB going to go for a BKB TP out, but won't make it either. Oh, what a back and forth game already here between these two. Still a 2k advantage the way of Talon, but Boom Esports, they are giving it right back.
And that's huge. They waste the fresh BKBs coming out from Talon. Managed to not really expend anything big outside of maybe the Unleash on Tim's. And they managed to equalize the map with a mid-tier 1 taken away. So now Jackie's much safer playing that bot jungle. There are wards watching him around the area, but it's not the biggest vision game in the world here from Talon. And they can start reeling it in with a Wraith King eventually, as long as Jackie keeps his farm pace up. Desolator coming out soon. Mikato though?
He's thinking about going in with the chains, but can't quite reach Tim's with a sleight of fist to be able to land said chains. So Talon just going to take a bit of time to relax and reset themselves. Keep in mind, it feels like Makoto has been farming quite heavily here on the Ember, but he wants to get to a point where he has his BKB up before he gets involved with these fights. We haven't really seen too much of him in these recent team fights, though, to be fair. But I suppose once he does have the BKB up, he can move in a lot more confidently against the Kunkka. For now, though, it just seems like the Ember's not getting involved.
Yeah, I mean, he's been skirmishing here and there when it comes to full commitment inside, as we tend to see Yopaj, dive in really deep, put his body on the line. Mikado's been a lot more cautious just because he needs that protection. He understands that they're going to need to try to reel in as much as gold possible in every core to have that same scaling. Boom, though, trying for a smoke play here.
Oh, but look at Hyde. He just has perfect positioning on the Bane. Even abusing the Shadow Amulet, he knows they're around somewhere. And Boom, they see him. They just can't move in because they do not want the Pos 5 Bane. Hyde's playing this very well for Talon. His positioning's just been perfect so far.
He's just been able to give the info every time. Again, it just goes back to what Talon likes to call Hyde. They like calling him the Giga Chad, just cutting off smokes, dying for the team, doesn't mind, doesn't care. Boom, not dissuaded too much though. They are not at a huge net worth deficit. 1k lead for Talon's not all that big. They've got their early BKBs up.
Cheeky little play there from Yopaj. Hyde was looking for a nice nightmare, but doesn't quite find one. The way Talon are grouped up, it does seem like they want to fight, but John, look at the Wraith King farm. Jackie's pretty much on par with Savage now. He's against the Midas Doom, but he's on par in terms of net worth. Only 50 gold behind. They find the Kunkka. That'll break the smoke, but Yopaj is just fine to walk out of there. Talon, do they really want this fight? Jackie's moving in to help out the team if they need it. They have a Deso on the Wraith King if they do get into that fight, and Talon, I don't think this is the fight they can afford to take. It just seems a little bit too rushed, a little bit too desperate here for Talon. I think it's best to probably reset and just try to smoke again a bit later on. Maybe even force a Roshan, but now Boom, they want to smoke up on their own terms. Talon, they're coming in right from the backside here, but who do they aim? Boom are being very patient as Hyde. He will break the smoke once again, but Yopaj won't go for an X yet. Both teams being just so careful not to give the opening to the other team. It's all about initiation here. They'll see Jackie farming, but they know they can't go after the Wraith King yet. In fact, now a blink coming out on Jackie, so he can initiate for his team if he does want to. But it's just on the courier for now, and it does seem like Talon, they are going to back off and wait for another day.
Radiant are scanning.
They played patient, they get good value out of their ward, immediately taken out by Boom after their smoke break on Jackie and the high ground gets figured out. and just leads to an equilibrium state once more of just farming. It does feel like this starts to favor Boom. As you mentioned, Jackie is hitting this point on Wraith King where it becomes really hard to fight up against this. Doom against Wraith King isn't a great matchup. You don't want to Doom the Wraith King, you want to Doom everyone else. The 2 lives of Jackie should go off without a hitch as long as Hyde isn't able to get a full duration Fiend's Grip off, so you're pretty confident just getting Reincarnation off every single time. Again, you've just managed to hit those BKB timings on FBZ, on Yopaj. We haven't even seen them use those fresh charges up. So the next team fight still feels like you have a lot to play with on Boom's end. And eventually you'll hit that refresh, you'll hit that sheep stick timing here though.
Look at this, John. Smoke on smoke situation. Skem, he'll break the smoke, but Jackie gonna jump right in. Avalanche does stun him up, but they got the X onto the Tiny. Drag him back, but not quite the Nightmare. It does save, but Hyde. He's gonna drop immediately as KP. He'll get run down here, but he's still static linking around the soul binding up. He does drop, however, as Jackie going for a bit more now. Wants Savage, but Makoto. He'll find Tims, but now Savage. He's trapped up. Mortimer's Kiss is flying in. The Torrent connects as well. The Doom is gone, but Q, he jumps in himself. Now the Fiend's Grip. Hyde holding down Yopaj, but it's not quite enough. He's gonna die back immediately as now Makoto trying to keep the fight going, but they have not found the first life of Jackie's. He jumps right back in onto the Tiny, onto his previous teammate, wanting another kill and does find it. An ultra kill for Jackie now. Just 1 kill away from the Rampage. Sadly, FBZ's not around, John. Otherwise, he probably could have stolen said Rampage had it been available. But Makoto, he's full HP. He's going to back out of there. And we're now at 11 to 16. 1K advantage the way of Boom. Jackie, he's skyrocketing in net worth now, John. I think Talon, they're starting to get into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, they can't deal with the physical output of Boom. They have so much minus armor with that Desolator, with a Static Storm, the Eye of the Storm just running through them, just providing even more minus armor for them to crit through, and you're not super durable yet on Savage. Like, the BKB fades, the magic damage rips right through, and he doesn't have too much bonus armor on hand, at least not until his casual plate mill comes in. Boom could still play aggressive here.
Savage. Oh, the skeletons. The skeletons. Are they going to get vision?
KP.
KP, meanwhile, mid lane does actually end up dropping. Yopaj able to secure the kill as Boom really starting to run at them, but it seems like Boom want to try for Roshan. No Death Prophet available for 35. It'll be a very free Roshan to go the way of Boom Esports, and, well, quite frankly, the only person who could try for a steal is either Q or Makoto, and it does feel like it would just be suicide, quite frankly. They are still grouping up. They are going to try and at least slow this down a little bit, but Roshan already so low. Tims scouting out for his team, but does rebound out immediately as Boom, they've got it. FBZ wants a chase now. Tims, he'll be there as well, but the Nightmare going to put a stop to it as Hyde. Still trying to run, but Jackie is on the chase with the stun, but not going to throw it out. He's just not within range. But Boom, they got the Aegis up. They'll hand it over to the Kunkka. And now, even with the low HP on Jackie, he won't mind jumping onto the Ember. Makoto, big trouble here for the Ember Spirit, but he's still alive, just barely. He remnants out. He is alive. Tim's the one to drop, but does die back as now Jackie being Fiend's gripped up in massive trouble. Is going to go down. Still the boat does fly in Savage. He's burning alive as he does eventually fall to Skem. And FBZ, he'll trace down KP here on the Death Prophet, but KP, he looks the man up with the Exorcism back onto the Kunkka. Meanwhile, Tims, this could be a dieback for the Marcy, but no, he jumps out with the cookie. Back in onto KP again, but Makoto and Q right in onto the Marcy. Do take him down for a dieback. Tims is gone. Skem running right to Yopaj, but he does get taken down, as so does FBZ. Talon, they don't quite get the Aegis, John, but they just got everything else. All 4 other heroes on Boom going down. Oh, this game, it's just such a close affair between these two.
Yeah, it's neck to neck. They managed to find the 2 lives of Jackie, take him out, and just clean up afterwards. Once you remove that Wraith King, a lot of the damage does feel like it dissipates. Razor's still a massive threat up front, but there's no one to really feed off of that Eye of the Storm minus armor. You don't have the Desolator to stack up on top. You don't have those massive crits that Wraith King can provide. And Talon make the best out of a pretty rough situation. Aegis still stands here for Yopaj. They can't quite push into an objective without the XO up, but they managed to stop Boom from going for their own objectives. Tier 1 tower still stands. Like, that entire move was a defense of that objective, and Boom weren't able to put a dent in it. So Talon can just, again, go back to farming themselves, get that build up, go into the Shivas here for Savage. That should help with some of the armor issues he's facing, help to slow down Boom when they want to chase down that Doom. And Mikado is almost at his Ags here, Mike. Just 600 gold away. Once that Ember Ags is up, locking in Mikado becomes even tougher. We've seen it already. Kind of a struggle to just burst him down in that hold window. With the Ags, Mikado's going to be free to be even more aggressive and just try to find those opportunities for Talon if Boom aren't careful.
Oh, we talk about it every time, John. The Ember Ags is really where things get very fun. And Mikado, I'm sure, is going to have a lot of fun this game, number one. Bot lane, though. A defense may begin very soon as Boom. They are forcing a push in. He's only... No, in fact, he's bought the whole Ags out. They could go for the fight, but keep in mind, Yopaj, he has a Scythe device up now. It could be a bit of a scary fight considering they don't know the Hex is available. Especially for Mikado. If he doesn't have that BKB up, could be very detrimental for the Ember Spirit. They will get the bottom tier 2, but Talon, they have vision around this area. They could try to force a fight. Could be a very good one, but they've got the low ground for now. It's about how you jump in. Q, he might go for a toss back, but no, it's right up with the avalanche toss onto Skem. They'll just melt him down to the Snapfire. One down already here for Boom as Talon. They rush onto Jackie, finding the reincarnation life, but here come the buybacks. The Snapfire wanting to come back into this fight, but Talon, they have backed off. That's all they wanted. They got more than enough out of this. There's going to be a counter smoke now. Boom. They committed a buyback, so they want to force a fight. Problem is, Skem cancelled his TP to the outpost, so he's going to have to just walk the old-fashioned way. While Boom, they try to find themselves a straggler. But nobody's really around right now. Unless Mikado, Yopaj. No, they see him. They know he's there somewhere. Mikado, he will get hexed up. Disposes there as well, but can they hold him down? The toss away, but the boat is still going to connect. Is it enough, though? The Nightmare to help out, but it's not going to be there. Mikado goes down. First death of the game for the Ember. And all the gold going back the way of Jackie.
And that's the opening Boom wants. They know BKBs were down. That's what led to that smoke play. Talon had to commit a lot just to find that buyback on Skem.
He's got no
now the
buyback.
high ground is your fault.
The Ember has no buyback. They're moving in. Doom is out. That might find the first life of Jackie, and eventually he does end up dying. But without two heroes with no buybacks available, Boom Esports, they can go right after the mid-racks here. Nothing has stopped them. In Talon, they will try to chip away at Boom, but eventually they may just realize they don't have the Ember buyback.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Refresher Orb available as well on FBZ. So a bit more utility here for the Razor, but Boom, no, they're not feeling confident. Even with the Aegis up on Yopaj, it's going to expire in 5 seconds. They won't risk anything. They'll respect Talon and they'll just back their way out for now. Though it is seemingly a bit of a missed opportunity for Boom, John.
Radiant's top tower has
Maybe
fallen.
100% not realizing that the Ember actually just has no way back into the game for now.
Yeah, I think that's respectable from Boom, though. They play it safe. They don't want to overextend. We've seen situations before where Boom are fully aggressive. They're much more disciplined. They go for other objectives. They just go for the tier 2 top, start to take control of that triangle. Talon still don't have an avenue to force this fight outside. Mikado is back up. They could try something. DD is on Boom's end, though. Roshan's still a ways off, but double damage coming out onto Yopaj is going to be pretty damn big here.
That's going to hurt with the Tidebringer to just share all that damage between Talon as Savage. He can't afford to die right now. Not the Doom. He's going to be okay for now. Still had the BKB available just in case he needed it. It's like Jackie maybe just trying to force the BKB out for the tier 2 top tower push. And Boom once again, very disciplined. Do back off. They realize they don't have that great of a net worth lead right now. And I'd still say ultimately the scaling of Boom is just going to be better when you compare drafts in comparison to, say, Talon. With a POS 1 Doom, you kind of rely on the net worth advantage earlier on than now. Still, it's not 100% said and done at all for Talon. They've still got a very good chance of pulling off this win as well. But it does seem like both teams going to take it slow, wait for the other to try and make a mistake.
Yeah, when you've got such closely matched teams, you don't want to be the team that gives that opportunity away. So you might play it safe. They are going aggressive now on Boom's end, though.
Ooh, Jackie just blinking right up to the high ground. Q. Gonna find their target, but they do at least force Talon back towards the base. Smoke, perhaps? Talon. Very grouped up. They've got a vision advantage. Yopaj immediately doomed up here on the Kunkka, so they jump in. Q, a nice avalanche, but FBZ he'll refresh with the double Eye of the Storm. Look at KP, he is gonna melt. Meanwhile, Makoto trying to chase down the idol. The Kunkka in trouble, still fighting, though he's deniable, but not quite. He does go down as FBZ, he finds another. Now Makoto, though, how much can he get done? They do find Skem. The Ember at least clears out 3 heroes as Jackie is gonna show up. He won't catch the Ember, but he might have a chance at the Tiny. Q is eventually going to have to Yule Scepter through the stun. Nice blink away, though, and he's actually gone. Very nice mechanics there from Q to get himself out of that. Very, very clutch. And that was actually a great team fight for Talon.
And they managed to get some great punishment off. They don't lose Savage. They take out Yopaj. They get a good angle for the Blink Doom out from Savage here. Just locking in Yopaj, preventing him from using the Side of Ice, from getting any impact out from his BKB. And then they just run down with Makoto afterwards. They still have no clear answers for, say, FBZ's Razor or Jackie's Wraith King. These heroes are still a big menace up front, but it seems like for now, Talon's play is to just ignore them. You know, they're not quite set to do damage onto those heroes. Maybe by the time you have Refresh Doom and perhaps that Infernal Blade Shard, you can start to get to work onto something, especially something like the Wraith King in some of these prolonged fights. It's going to take some time for that build-up and just kind of go with what's soft, go with what's still a little bit more exposed in that Kunkka, who's still really susceptible to that Doom, because Kunkka's gonna need to get the boat off. If the boat doesn't fly out, that durability of Boom that we've seen, it's not as oppressive for Talon to play up against.
Still a very slight net worth lead here for Boom, John. Only 1k. Most of that farm being on Jackie. You see Savage, he is trying to build up towards the Refresher Orb very, very soon as Jackie will get chained up here by Makoto, but to get the D wards off here in the Radiant Triangle. Maybe once you have the Refresher Orb up on the Doom, he's going to be a hell of a lot scarier just dooming 2 heroes straight off the bat. Still Talon, they aren't going to wait around for that. They are going to smoke up as 5 heroes and try to make a rotation back into their own triangle. Exorcism is back up in 8 seconds, but again, KP, last time around, he did melt. This time, though, it might be Boom melting. John, as Makoto is going to find a double damage rune himself on the Ember. So last time around, you had the Tidebringer hits and double damage. This time, Makoto with the Sleight of Fist. And he's at that level 25 mark as well, so he does have 2 charges of said Sleight of Fist. It's going to be all about this second Roshan. As Talon, they do prepare on the high ground of the Dire Jungleland. Or Boom Esports, they'll do the exact same thing across the map on the Radiant Triangle. Question is, who starts Roshan first?
And both sides are kind of camped out for it. It's a pivotal Roshan to take. Roshan number 2 with the free shards. Need that secondary life for Boom to start to find a high ground. They do find a free tier 2 for their trouble. So they're getting a little bit more off the map in comparison to what Talon can do. And they've always got the X TP play to just farm, to take some side lanes, get some pressure off from the side of Boom. And they have that slight net worth lead. Jackie, as you mentioned, Mike, number 1 has managed to skyrocket after a very rough early game here, as we expect at this point from Jackie. Talon, for their part, do have the full Lincolns up on Makoto. So he's protected going in. He doesn't have to be scared of the disposes out. That it does feel like Boom's been playing off the back of Tim's with his blink.
Actually, look at this 5-man smoke up from Talon, but Boom, they're just going to force the high ground. They want to force everyone back to the base here from Talon. It's a smart play from Boom, because now they'll go for a counter smoke right into Roshan. The scan is there. They seem to believe Talon's around the Roshan pit, and they would be correct in assuming so. Hyde's doing a good job of ruining that scan, though, as Boom, they are going to blink into the Roshan pit, but we'll realize nobody around. So both teams kind of reading each other's minds. No smoke being broken yet. Talon, they're having a look around for a straggler from Boom, but nobody around here. They'll just clear out the creep wave instead. And the mind games between these two. I mean, it was a nice bait play from Boom. Talon, though, They read their movement.
Dire's middle tower
And
is
both
under
sides just
attack.
kind of trade spots. Boom, start to take that jungle ramp. But they are starting to push into the high ground of the triangle once more.
Who do you doom first, John? Savage, who does he want? I think he wants the conk up.
Oh,
It's
no.
still Jackie. He's the first one in. He's already found Savage. The kisses are flying in as well. Savage, he's BKB'd up. He does commit the doom, but he's still maybe going to drop. In fact, never mind. He's out of there for now. Instead, Makoto, he's the target they really want on the Ember. Can they get the damage out in time? Yes, they can. Fiend's Grip, though, hide. He'll hold down Jackie. Was already quite low on the Wraith King, but do they have the damage output for him? Savage will jump in, but the X-Back from the Idol, protecting the Wraith King for now, but KP still going to charge him, but no Jackie. He mans up. What a Giga Chad. Still surviving. Right back in Jackie. He does take down Savage before he ends up dying himself. Oh, his hide ends up going down as well. A 4-for-2 trade, but it really should not have been that way for Talon. How close were they to killing off Jackie that whole time? But he takes down KP and he takes down Savage right before he ends up going down.
The damage output from Boom is just still way too high. The minus armor still racks up. It's just been the consistent issue for KP in this game. He doesn't stay alive long enough. He has the BKB, he has a plate mail. It's still not enough durability for him to apply any effort. And when Talon tries to re-engage with Savage, he blinks on top right as Q is getting the toss off, so Savage just gets tossed in the air instead. No control coming out from Q and the re-engage. Boom. Get the opportunity to take that mid set of racks. All set of racks kind of open for the taking. They could try for the tier 3 plays if they wanted to, but Boom will go for the safe play. They've got that opening for Roshan. They know the Talon's not going to be buying back. There's no buyback on Mikado when he did jump in. Mikado's just been having a rough time. Even with the Lincolns, he's not been able to get these BKB off in these last few fights. Boom has just been able to chain stun really well, and it's a very tough game for Savage to figure out who to doom. Because if you doom the Razor after he's already used Eye of the Storm and BKB at least one time, you're still pretty satisfied, along with a static Lincoln Zone. It still feels like Konka could be your big choice, but how do you handle the Wraith King? Like, it's just not a favorable matchup for Savage to play into. They've got to kind of skirmish around here, and Talon's been trying to dance around very hard, jumping in and out with the Ember, getting a blink angle for Savage, getting some tossbacks here with Q, and generally just having KP die in the front line for them. But
absolutely.
it's so hard to pull off in comparison to what Boom has to do. They just run up, ensure Jackie can get hits off, and ensure that the Eye of the Storm is running through, and maybe get the Hex off on Mikado, and you're kind of set.
Both teams again, John. The second Roshan, it's still not down. Both teams are waiting, and even with one racks down here, Talon, if they can take this Roshan for themselves, it's going to be a great way to try and come back into this game. Problem is, how do you take it? It really does go back to the fact that Savage is having a very rough time scaling on this Pos 1 Doom, and without the Refresher Orb up, you've really got to be quite careful about who you target. And every team fight we do see Savage, he's looking around for the Kunkka. He wants Japoi, but Yopaj, realizing this, does stay away and build up into his own Lincoln Sphere. It's making it very hard for Savage to find the target he truly wants, and of course that last team fight just being forced to Doom FBZ, but that's just not it. The Razor does not care. There's Jackie. He'll start Roshan now. Talon, they've got to find a good way to fight this. Q, he can start the fight with a tossback on Jackie if he truly wants to. Problem is Jackie has 2 lives and a BKB available, so just keep scouting out for now. Japoi breaks the Lincolns onto the Ember, into the Dispose. Makoto, he can't afford to die, but he gets the BKB off in time. Still Talon, they've popped their BKBs too early. They might need to back off, but Savage jumps in as well. Makoto, he's trying. Doom is out onto FBZ, but Savage, he might go down, but no, he jukes them out. Oh, he's juked them out for now. The Doom is still fine. Jackie, he'll back out of there, and Yopaj, he's the one to drop on the Kunkka. Makoto, just so much damage being dealt here from the Ember. There's Talon. Do they go for Roshan?
They could. They get the refresh off from Savage. Immediate refresh to have the Doom on ready here, along with the BKB use. It does feel like they need a little bit of a reset. You're not the healthiest mana-wise here for Mikado, so spamming out, it's not going to be as easy. Only 3 charges on the Remnants, no BKB for 40 seconds, so it is more than likely they'll just play it safe. They've gotten the buybacks on Boom's supports. Both Scam and Tim's want to get back into that fight, but Talon will go for that smoke play angle anyway. Again, they've got Doom off cooldown here with a refresh.
Oh, Oh, they might run right into Tim's. Q. No, he wants Scam. He'll find the snap fire. Makoto immediately in to try and help out, but here comes FBZ. Q. He will drop as the traders now. Savage trying to move in. Doom is out. Who have they got? It's going to be FBZ on the Razor. Meanwhile, Jackie, he does have that secondary life. They completely ignore him. Taking down FBZ first as now Jackie with only 1 life is more susceptible. Makoto, he'll go for the chase. Savage right behind him. They've got the Wraith King locked down and take him out. Oh, Talon, here we go, John. They're onto a comeback in game 1. They're feeling confident. Boom Esports. Oh, they've got to start paying a bit more respect, I think, to Talon, John. Because I think this second Roshan should go the way of the Radiant.
Yeah, they've got the angle to take it. It's still only, again, Roche number 2, so it doesn't have the full complement that Roshan can give. No cheese, no refresh shard, no Ag's blessing on hand. Still, just the secondary life might be enough for Talon to start to find more objectives onto the high ground and try to equalize the map. Boom, no buyback in FBZ. They don't want to expend the buyback here on Jackie. They're gonna have to just surrender that Roshan. And, Jin, when you see these fights break out, Mike, Talon have to work extra hard to find them. Like, they just see the supports isolated. That's their opportunity. They have to kind of play this hit and run style, make sure Boom is sort of declumped initially, get their BKB usage just right, find the perfect Doom target from Savage. He's been making great use of his War Stomps as well. And we're kind of at the point where Doom's output with Infernal Blade shards, it's actually pretty painful for strength cores, especially something like the Wraith King. Even the Kunkka doesn't enjoy all that percent burn damage. So you don't have that big of a damage issue in Talon. It's still all about dancing around. And for the benefit of Talon, Mikado's been doing a great job of dancing. He's got that refresh on hand now. He's going to have a lot of remnants to toss out, double BKB use, maybe even a secondary Linken's usage if he wants to think about it that way. And he's just been carrying this team, right? Like, we heard the panel, I think it was Fear who pointed out, you don't have a great scaling carry on Talon. That's all really down to Mikado. He's been delivering this game.
He certainly is, John. Makoto doing a great job, and we're now with 10 remnants available with the Refresher Orb. We know how fast he can blow somebody up. Just a ridiculous amount of damage, and a bit of a quick Australian math here, John. That's about 3k damage with 10 remnants. You know, give or take. Pretty damn good amount here for Makoto. See what they can get done, though, with that. Is they have a 7k net worth lead now. Not that net worth lead matters anymore, but if we can have a look at the Dota Plus graph, John, it's just shot right up. I mean, it's not looking too good for Boom. It's just not a pretty sight whatsoever. As now Makoto, look at this. How confident can this man be? He'll jump in again. Where's he going, though? Around the world, but the Hex is out. Has he gone too far? They'll stun him up in a nice toss. Q saving the day. Jackie still going to try and go for a chase, but Makoto still moving right back in with the double chains out, fighting FBZ, wanting the Razor. Savage, he goes on to Jopoi, but Jopoi's fine for now. It's Makoto. He'll jump back out, and KP will jump back in. Spells being used up, and BKB's being committed, but nobody drops yet. Everyone very tanky at the moment. Talon, even with the Aegis up, they just don't find the target they really wanted. They kind of run out of remnants there on Makoto. I think you just kind of wait for the recharge to be there on said remnants and just go back in later.
Did manage to force some resources out from Boom here, Mike. FBZ had to pop refresh, had to use the secondary BKB. So you don't have double BKB coming out in the next 2 minutes. It's a bit of a window for Talon if they do want to play aggressive. It's as you said, though, probably just going to wait for Mikado's charges to fill back up. Use this time to keep the farm game up. They're working onto a Hex on Savage here as well. So even more lockdown for the Doom to use to enable Mikado to play around. And again, it's all about Mikado. We see how much they're willing to do to just save that Ember. Q jumps in, has the Aeon Disc, tosses back to prevent that Hex from becoming disastrous for Talon, saving the Aegis in the process. Still 2 minutes for Talon to play with that Aegis here, as even KP's managed to find a couple of items up. He's managed to overtake FBZ. I mean, you think about how many times KP's been dying in the front lines. He's managed to recover pretty well. Linken's up now, along with the Lotus Orb to protect. So even our Death Prophet now can apply some more utility onto Mikado and just pile onto the Ember. Boom. And they're not really out of this game. They've got a Rax advantage. 7k lead, as you said here, Mike. It doesn't mean too much. Jackie's still farming like a madman. Swift Blink on hand. They just need to find a way to isolate Mikado and kill him off.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just such a close match, John. The net worth lead at this point, it really doesn't feel like it matters anymore. But Talon just doing such a fantastic job as now the Refresher Orb up and available on Yopaj. You know what that means, John? I think the man needs an Aghanim Scepter upgrade for that beautiful Torrent Storm. Nothing like a double Torrent Storm in the middle of a team fight to completely screw up the other team, but he might wait for Roshan for that aspect. She's going to be up in quite a while. 4 minutes till we find out when the next Rosh is available. Of course, the Aegis is still available on Makoto for now for another minute. It feels like Boom have to be so much more careful about how they force these fights. But you've really got to try and either get Makoto quickly or take down Hyde or Q first. I mean, there's no question about it. If you can't find Makoto, it's probably not worth taking the fight. And I'd say the same for Hyde and the Bane. Like, you just don't want to let this man Fiend's Grip from a mile away and just forget about it. You can't do that.
Yeah, just can't let it happen. TPs are forced out from the shove in from Boom down bot. So that does kind of declump Talon for a moment, not wanting to lose an additional set of racks. It is a double siege creep wave. So they've got to settle with it. Fortify does stall this process out. They're getting some good damage off, but not really looking to commit from Boom. They just work the jungle, get that farm build up. They're going to work into FBZ's Ags with a refresh. Double Eye of the Storm can end this game really fast. So Boom's still got a lot of good angles left here, Mike Talon. It does still feel like they've got to be careful considering their racks down still.
Bot lane, this could be where the fight breaks out, John. They see Makoto on the creep wave as the Aegis does expire, and Jackie will show himself. Was trying to bait Talon forward. They won't move yet, though. They're going in completely blind here, Talon, so they'll have to wrap around the other way. Try to find an opening that suits them. Now mid lane, Savage. Scythe of Vice is out. They will block with the Lincolns, and Savage for now going to be fine as Makoto right in, just scouting out for his team and Q. With the Avalanche toss onto FBZ. Makoto, he just keeps going on the Ember. He does not give a crap, but FBZ, he'll drain some damage away from the Ember Spirit. Meanwhile, Jackie has found Hyde on the Bane. That's one down. But Boom, can they find any more? Makoto still around, but Japoi trying to get a Scythe device off. Will break the Lincolns into the Scythe, and now with the link out and the double the Eye of the Storm, it's a lot of damage. Still Savage gonna jump back into the Doom, but he's gone. Oh, he tried to save the Ember, and he does do so, but it costs his own life. Can they find Jackie at least? It doesn't seem like it. He's on the run. Instead, they'll be forced to take Skem on the Snapfire. Meanwhile, KP does at least find the first life of Jackie, but can he get a second? Fiend's Grip is there. Hold him down from Hyde. Jackie needs some help. They'll just keep holding him down into a double Doom out. Jackie, he's got no way to survive this. Now Savage, right onto FBZ, takes down another. Yopaj, he is forced to run on the Kunkka. He cannot keep the fight going. They do commit buybacks for that fight, Talon, but I think it's well worth it.
They managed to find a lot of big kills. Savage doesn't want to be caught out here.
He's alone.
Oh boy.
Oh, Savage. Scythe of Vice, Savage.
Oh
That's
boy.
a dieback, Savage. That's a dieback, sir.
Yeah. Goes a bit too far forward, tries to farm, and boom. They still lack their 2 cores, but you know, they didn't buy back. They didn't have any need to buy back in that pick off. And Talon are going to find themselves on a bit of a back foot here. They still have the buyback in Mikado at the least, but they can't take any objectives off the back of that fight. They can't force mid. They can't think about Roshan. It's going to be, if they're unfortunate here on the respawn timing for Talon, Boom has a clear advantage into the Rosh with how much more time Savage will take to respawn. And Boom can start trying to tie out this game. Still have that Ags build up here for FBZ lined up. Have the Orchid into Blood Torrent, looks like here for Jackie down the line. Just more control to deal with the Ember. And Mikado, it's still really hard to find those angles, right? Like, to work out these fights for the Ember is just very, very difficult. Kai and Sanj up, so a little bit less control coming out of the stat resist at very least. Maybe giving Mikado a window to dodge out, pop his BKB, and just bail out in a bad fight, but these fights feel easier for Boom to pull off. And speaking of unfortunate, Rosh is just immediately up, Mike. 50 seconds where Savage isn't up. Boom could try to go into that pit here.
Well, we're going to have a quick pause out, which gives us time to talk about the state of the game, John. And I realize you've already kind of been doing that, but we're 50.5 minutes in now, Jonathan. I'm not going to say what that means, because every time we say it, it never happens. But, you know, maybe 9.5 minutes away from something special happening. Still, Talon in the lead, 5k net worth lead their way. The win probability, though, I mean, it's like 47% to 53%. barely favoring Boom Esports. That's how close this game is right now. It's just really hard to know who has the big lead. But I'd say as time goes on, like, Makoto's about to hit level 30 now. He even buys the tomb out for himself. It's going to be rather scary. Like an extra chains target, the minus remnant charge time. It's just going to be very annoying for Boom to deal with because Makoto's just going to be able to do whatever he wants. And you're getting to that territory as well as the Ember, where you start to consider Divine Rapiers, right? Like you're starting to think, do I need that extra damage? It is very late into the game. Makoto's only died twice this game. What are you thinking, John? Divine's even in consideration here for the Ember Spirit.
It could be. It doesn't feel completely necessary. I think it's all just down to play. Whether or not Boom can play the way they want to, or Talon can play the way they want to. This Roshan's big for Boom. It has the free refresh shard, so way more spells to spam out here. They hand it over to Yopaj, of course. Refresh orb plus the shard on hand. It does have enough to buy out that Ags you're talking about here, Mike. So double, triple. The Torrent Storm could be big if Yopaj does want to jump into it, and the high ground path is very clear for Boom. They're already 1 racks up. Side lanes are kind of open with only the tier 3s to stand. And you're still in a very scary position where Savage doesn't have buyback for 4.5 minutes. So a massive window for Boom to just play.
And they're moving right in, down towards that bot lane. They'd love Makoto. He does have buyback, but they'd love to try and force it before the next high ground attempt. So far, nobody being found out here from Talon. They do back off at the right moment and just rely on the Ember to get that split push going. Even a Bloodthorn being built up here by Jackie now, just wanting that extra utility. And speaking of the devil, Jackie gonna jump right in onto Makoto, but he's by himself. Still, the side of Talon are the ones to back out. So they assume Jackie had his whole team behind him, but he had nobody. He was literally on his own.
And they're close by enough. You see how quick that response is from Boom. That would have been a very drawn-out fight to deal with 2 lives in Jackie. So just play it safe, back off. Doing that, Boom's probably got an angle back in, and just play for high ground. They can't afford to take this massive risk here on Talon's end. Again, backs are against wall. That lead that they had doesn't really mean much at 53 minutes in. And it's just so much easier to execute here for Boom. Again, they just jump in, ensure Jackie's enabled, find a way to lock in Makoto. You don't really worry about Doom. Double Doom is still big, but you know it's not the biggest deal in the world if you play your cards right here on Boom's end. They're being very patient. You know, they've got Aegis. They don't want to rush things. They want to get the right items up, get the right situation going for their side. Just work the lanes. They don't quite have buyback on FBZ and Tim's, and Skems is still on cooldown. So maybe just try to build up to that point, but they're keeping every lane in. They're keeping Talon onto the high ground. They can't really play this farming game right now on Talon's end.
53, almost 54 minutes in now. It's like Yopaj, he wants the Ags, but he wants the Ags Blessing with it. He doesn't want to have the Aghanim Scepter in his item slot, and that's fair enough. Boom, are they really going to commit for this high ground? They might just do it safely with FBZ, but Savage, he's going to do a fair bit of damage immediately onto the Razor. It's not going to be that easy to just chip away slowly here for Boom, as they might sacrifice FBZ if they're not too careful. Keep in mind, he does have the Aegis up on the Razor, but you'd much rather not give it away if you can avoid it. Talon's still in great contention here to try and pull off this game 1 victory, as they will see Jackie. Q's going to jump in and toss him back into the team, though Jackie, he'll get his BKB off immediately. Forcing the Aeon Disc proc from Q. But without the BKB, I doubt Boom wants to fight. They'll back off and hold the high ground of the Radiant Triangle once again. And that should ensure Talon is safe to save the next 70 seconds while the BKB's on cooldown. I highly doubt Boom will go in.
And they just buy more time, try to chip away at that Aegis timing here for FBC. Only about 1.5 minutes left on that Razor's secondary life. Talon, and their options are growing limited though, Mike. They can't make any forays outside of their base. Full Bloodthorns up for Jackie. More damage coming through from him, more control coming out as well. And yeah, there's not much to do. Just high five, pass the time, hold the high ground, rinse and repeat, and wait for an opening.
Yeah, just gotta high five sometimes. Speaking of high five, John, I had a game today. I forgot to high five my carry, and he got very upset with me. Let me tell you, they do not. These calls, they're not happy if nobody high fives them. If they're left hanging, whew, you're gonna hear it. This guy turned on his mic, started abusing me. Where's my high five? I just don't get. I'm too old, John. I'm too old for this. I don't high five. I just win games.
You gotta high five. It keeps that team morale up. Don't it's a team game, Mike. You don't play solo nowadays. You gotta work together in your pubs.
Used to be able to solo when Necrobook was around, John. Let me tell you.
You sicko.
Yeah.
You're really sick, man, Mike. You know. You ask yourself why things go wrong. That's why, because you're a Necrobook user. You know, that's exactly it.
I deserve it, I suppose. Talon. They're grouped up still, John. At least they've made it outside of their base for now. Holding the left side of that mid lane, but boom. Just hoping somebody shows up, and in they go Jackie. Right onto KP for the Nightmare. Gonna save KP for now as they have not got the lockdown. In fact, Savage getting a stun off onto Jackie into the Avalanche Toss combination. They're just trying to chip away at the first reincarnation life. Jackie almost low. Makoto, he does get it. Z-Remnant's back the other way now, but Japoi moves in with a massive tidal wave into the boat fleet. Still, it's not going to be enough. They got the reincarnation life. So, boom, they do not want to force the fight any further. And it's just a massive issue. Makoto, he could just jump in and out so frequently. Just snipes the first life and boom, can't go any further.
And the big thing for Talon is they expend a couple of BKBs, but they don't have to use their refreshes. Doom is still ready to go on Savage. Double Doom is still ready to go here as well. They need to equalize their lane, so Bot is still shoving pretty hard, so they can't spend too much time outside base. Smoke not going to lead to many opportunities here for Talon. Are baiting out a little bit with Mikoto, but Boom's all the way back home, knowing that, you know, you give an opening like that, things can go out south very quickly. I do love what Jackie's doing though, Mike. Going for the Ags and the Raid King. So even if you kill someone off, those spells will still fly in. It could still get dicey for Talon. Especially, think about it though, like if say Yopaj gets pinned down in the AoE of the Raid King. Stays alive, manages to get a Hex use, manages to get the Ghost Ship use, maybe even the Tidal Storm. It gets pretty wacky for Talon to fight against that, especially because at that point your BKBs are already off. You have no way of dealing with it, and just could lead to a win situation for Boom anyway. That Ags pickup on Jackie is going to be big.
Oh, John, you're thinking too simply, John. You got to think about the Rizpol and Minamipo strategies here, John. You get Divine Rapiers, and you TP back in the Reincarnation life, so you never lose the Divine. It's brilliant. Like, you just get your point Divine Rapier. What's stopping him, right? He'll refresh, pop his BKB, TP out, and he'll be fine. In fact, Q, he may not be so fine, but the Aeon Disc gonna save his life as now Savage jumping in, Doom out right onto the Kunkka, but he's doomed himself. Oh, he's doomed himself, the Lotus Orb. It's gonna save the life as Yopaj is gonna be fine to walk out, and now Tim's going right back on Makoto, forcing the Fiend's grip, and Makoto's been caught out. The Nightmare's not gonna save him. He is gone. He could buy back though if he wants to keep this fight going. KP has been caught back now. Savage, he'll refresh. The buyback is there. Jackie might lose that first life, but still healing up, still surviving. Does finally go down. They'll find Tim's on the Marcy. Jackie, who do we aim? Onto the Scam, onto the Snapfire. They'll take him down. Meanwhile, Savage being tossed away by Q, being saved by the Tiny. Tiny Airlines getting Savage out of there just in the nick of time. No visa necessary. He's just fine. Still TP right back to the base, and oh, Q. Had he not saved Savage, John, that might have been massive for Boom, but Boom, they lose a hell of a lot in that team fight.
Oh, Mikado has to be a bit cautious. He did just buy back. So you're in a very awkward spot where, yes, Boom expends a lot of buybacks. They have to buy back in Yopaj and their two supports. But if you find Mikado, those buybacks are worthwhile. That opens up high ground. It feels like Talon's not going to be able to play at that point. I mean, Savage still has his buyback. So you could find him as well. Roshan, real quick timer here for Boom. Very, very lucky as they're in a good position to take that Rosh. Could kind of mitigate that risk that Yopaj has here. And again, that could open up the high ground in a big way for Boom.
John, 20 seconds, John. That's all I can say. 20 seconds. And Roshan's up. You are correct. Wind Waker on Q now as well. Props to Q on this Tiny. He's been doing a really damn good job of these, of just the tossback saves on his teammates. Now with the Wind Waker, he can save even more. Roshan is going to be scouted up by Scam. Boom. They will rush for this, I'm sure. Yopaj already bought the Axe Blessing for himself, so he won't need it. But you could hand this one over to Jackie. Keep in mind, though, Jackie also bought the whole thing himself, I think. And he did. So Jackie's not getting the Axe either. Who gets it?
Skem. I think you just hand it over to Skem, have the gobble up ready, and just initiate from a mile away. And no, with that Ags up on Jackie, it's very low risk to toss literally anyone as long as Jackie's close by.
Here we go. Here we go, John. Time has come. Talk to me about those tier 5 items, John.
Well. The Stygian coming out for Boom is huge, because they already have a Deso up, along with that additional minus armor, just going to allow them to rack up damage, at least on Talon. Whoops, that was Talon's hand. The Fallen Sky for Jackie will allow him to initiate very, very far in with the Swift Blink on top. So you feel pretty good. I think this is down to whoever gets... What's the one with the refresh? That little orb that refreshes all your items? Yeah, if whoever gets Ex Machina with 20-second BKB, you're pretty happy with that.
Here we go, though. Boom, they're not going to wait that long. They'll refresh on FBZ, and they'll get started. Keep in mind Makoto. He does have that Stygian Desolator, so his damage is amped quite a lot of Savage. Already jumping in. Has found Japoi on the Kunkka. They want to melt him down, and they've got him. Doom is out. He'll have the Reincarnation Life. That's about all he's got right now is Savage. He even found Skem on the Snapfire. It's another down here for Talon as Q jumps in, killing off Japoi, and now FBZ trapped up with the Marcy. They'll take him down. Meanwhile, Jackie still trying to keep this fight going on the raid team of Makoto, just jumping all across the team fight, not letting anything happen to his teammates as they do find Savage. But he'll buy back. He wants Jackie a second time. How much can Jackie do on his own? The answer is not much. Not without a BKB. He is going to go down, and Talon, they have successfully defended high ground. There's another Hex out on Jackie. 3 heroes down without buyback here, Jonathan.
What?
Talon's got an opening.
I don't know how they did that. I legitimately don't know how they found that opening. They see FBZ run up. He uses his refresh. He tries to run down that top set of racks, trying to clear out the tier 3s. Doesn't, at least finds a tier 3. Doesn't find the racks for his trouble. And with all of those buybacks gone, that's maybe an opportunity for Talon. They've got to find a way to push in, though. They do have the refresh on KP, so Exo is ready to go. And even have a Book of the Dead right when they need it. Mike, I mean, you're happy now.
The boys are back, John. The boys are back. Get him, Q. You pop that book, sir. You know what to do. There they are. Look at him,
my
Jonathan.
God. No way.
They're back in, John. How great's this? This is
going tier 4s.
They're going tier 4s. I mean, there's 3 heroes without buyback here for Boom. They had such an advantage. They had so many Roshans. But Talon, they are just a dedicated bunch. They want this win. They want to be the best team in SEA. And they might just have it, at least for game 1. As they'll move in on the tier 4 towers. Boom, they're going to try one last time to defend this. FBZ, he's in with Jackie with the feeds grip. Going to hold him down immediately. That's 1 life gone. Jackie, how's he going to fight this? It's all him against the world. As FBZ's already going down. Jackie, he'll go for a run, but the Ancient is completely exposed. They'll just aim that down as Jackie does get caught out. No chances of escape. He's gone. And Talon, what a game it was, John. They're still trying here, Boom. They are still trying, but the Ancient is going to go down. It seems as Talon do pick up the victory. Game 1 to go the way of Talon. Oh, they soared high today, John. Boom Esports. They were soaring high, but they crash landed real quick.
That was I can't believe that game even happened. It was so close between both teams. This is what we wanted to see in this kind of tiebreaker. Both teams definitely deserving to be in this spot. Contention for #1 in Southeast Asia. Such a close match, but Talon sees that one opportunity. They see FBZ come up, use refresh early, try to static storm down that top set of racks, and it doesn't work out. They jump the back line, they catch him off guard, and props to Boom, they played it really well. Right? They had this lineup that scaled so much better. They had such great opportunities. They kept punishing Talon when they drop off and make one little mistake. But Talon would do the same. They'd look for small mistakes out from Boom. It was a lot harder to pull off from Talon. Like, even with a refresh on Savage, we saw like multiple Dooms being wasted on Lincolns. We saw Savage Doom himself. Mikado had to play on the bleeding edge to dodge out all those stuns. And the entire unit had to work together. Like, Q was just getting these tossbacks. Mikado was just dancing around. I know that was a maddening game.
Can I just give props to Makoto as well, John? Looking at his hero damage here, 96,000 hero damage throughout that game 1. The closest to him was actually FBZ on 53,000 right after. So 96,000 points of damage here from Makoto. You'd have to argue the Yellow Flash himself carried the game here for the side of Talon for game 1. Still, luckily for us, it is a best of 3 series, so we are going to head off to a short break. And right after that break, we'll be back with our game 2 draft with our lovely panel. We'll see you then.